So finishing up our sugya, Tesvav Amud Aleph. All right. So the question in the daf is like this: Shmuel has a different version of learning the machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Meir. Slowly. Okay. Again, Shmuel has a different version of learning the debate between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. What was the debate between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda? Right. Xeris Tikra. So Shmuel learns that they both agree that you cannot use a tikra, which is a 4 tefachim wide roof beam. You are not allowed to use that for your schach. They both agree that to be the case because there's something called Xeris Tikra. What's Xeris Tikra? If I sit underneath my sukkah and I see that roof, I'm going to think to myself, oh, look, I might as well just sit in my house. And what we explained last time was the basis for that Xera is that there's a certain way a person relates to the chomer of kviyas, so to speak, the material. As he sees keva in his sukkah, that's going to make him relate to it in an appropriate way. If that's the case, okay, then the Mishnah on Tesvav, the Mishnah on Tesvav becomes, if you're not going to follow this, we're knee deep in it. All right. So anyway, the Mishnah on Tesvav is must be a case of Xeris Tikra. Why? Because who's arguing in the Mishnah? Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. And they both agree that you can't use Tikra for your schach. Okay. The only problem is that in the according to Shmuel's way of learning, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, you cannot use Tikra. Right. Tikra means 4 tefachim. So you're not allowed to use Tikra, roof beams. Right. No, don't say Nisarm. Say roof beams. Make it easier. You're right. Nisarm that are 4 tefachim. Okay. The problem is that you have Machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, whereas Beis Shammai holds what? So according to Shmuel, so what's the problem with Shmuel's way of learning? So you have Machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, right? What does Beis Shammai hold? You do nota. What does Beis Hillel hold? So what's funny about Beis Hillel? How come mifafkek?
How can it take away Xeris?
Right. In other words, to be more sophisticated about it.
It's still there.
Rabbi Yehuda is going to say, how could Rabbi Yehuda posit that Beis Hillel held you can use a solution called mefafkek when you really should be using notel? Okay, that's what you should be relying on, notel.
Right.
So now the Gemara at the bottom says this. We'll review this again. The Gemara says, Hanicha l'Rav de Amar machlokas b'sheyesh b'hain arba'a the Rameir islek zeres tikra Rabbi Yehuda leslek zeres tikra. So the Gemara says, if you learn this entire Gemara in Tesvav like Rav, it's not a problem because the machlokas about whether or not there is Tikra, whether there's Xeris Tikra. Okay? Whereas Rabbi Yehuda would say, no, right? You could use roof beams, and Rameir says yes. But the problem is, according to Shmuel, the Amar b'she'ein b'hen arba machlokas, aval yesh ben arba divrei kol psula, right? Seifa b'mai pligi. So if that's the case, what are they being argued about in the Seifa? And they got to be careful what the Seifa here means. Rashi will explain that. Okay? It's our Mishnah, right? So b'bitule tikra kamiflage. So they're arguing about bittul tikra. Mar savar batla b'hachi, Mar savar b'hachi lo batla. So one shita holds that being mevatalit works, so to speak, and Mar savar b'hachi with this method lo batla. What does all this mean? Follow Rashi. Get your finger on the spot. Follow Rashi. Again, Rashi says b'bitule tikra. Kolomar. Amar lach Shmuel. So Shmuel says to you, le'olam b'sheyesh b'hen arba. Right? So it's always a case where you have roof beams. Velo haisa kan tikra mitchila. Okay, and there were no roof beams here to begin with. The achshav hu ba l'sachik b'hu l'shem sukkah. So what do? I come along and I say, I'm going to build schach on my hut. I'm going to put up roof beams. I'm going to build my sukkah, right, my schach out of roof beams. L'shem sukkah. He's got the right intention. So again, right material, right intention, but what's the problem? Roof beams. Right. So he says, I feel Rabbi Yehuda apostle. The gazuna mishum tikra shelo yavo v'yeshev tachas karos beso v'yomer mali zeh mali chadasha. Right. So Rabbi Yehuda would agree that you would have to apply the Xeris tikra here. Why? Because what the guy's going to say is that he's going to see the koros, he's going to see the beams, he's going to say, oh, what's the difference between sitting in my sukkah and sitting in my house? Okay? No chiddush there. Now comes the hard part. Okay? But here in the case where the tikra was already there, okay, meaning that I come outside and I have a hut with beams on top of it, roof beams on top of it. Okay? So if that happens, so Ubalide Maisa. Now listen to what he's saying. uba lide maisa lasos Hashem Sukkah, and he comes along to do an action to now make the tikra l'shem Sukkah, okay? V'zem mochiach sheyodea she'amra Torah Taaseh Velo HeAsui, and therefore he's making it known through whatever action he's doing. He's doing some sort of action on the tikra, but by doing that, he makes it known that he's aware that he knows that the Torah says Taaseh Velo HeAsui. By doing that, pligi Rabbi Yehuda Rameir. That's the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda Rameir. So before we go on to the next step, what are they arguing about? They're arguing about, can a person rectify the situation of where there's a tikra already on his sukkah? Okay? Can he rectify it? Well, excuse me, let me rephrase that. Is there a maisa that he can do to the tikra itself that would rectify the situation? Okay? Because what's notel? Notel isn't, what is notel doing? Right, exactly. You're exactly, not just, you're breaking the tikra. Okay? But so that's what they're arguing on. Is there an action you can do retaining the structure of the tikra, right? But yet somehow that would rectify the problem you have of having the roof beams on top. Okay? No, as you're putting up, for sure he's going to say it's a problem. In other words, there's two cases. Am I building my sukkah? And when I build it, I'm building it with the tikra l'shem sukkah, versus saying, am I building my hut? And when I build my hut, I build it with roof beams, and I say this hut with the roof beams is l'shem sukkah. Or that's the case where Rabbi Yehuda agrees that Xeris tikra would apply. Versus saying, I built a hut in my backyard in the summer, right? And I put roof beams on top, right? Now Sukkot comes along, I go ahead and what can I do to rectify the situation? Keep in mind, by the way, why? What's wrong with that? The question on the floor is that what's the difference in the cases, right? That's what you really want to know. What's the difference?
On top of that, if there was a way out, if you want to play this game in Xeris tikra, wouldn't you tell me that when at least it has another good component called the proper designation, that's where it emerges?
Right. Okay. Yeah. What Ezra's saying is like this. What you're saying, yeah. If I build the sukkah. And when I build it with tikra. What am I saying? I'm building an arai. Let me get to that point. I'm building an arai walls with a permanent schach. That's absurd. So you can't. Therefore, it's impossible for it to be l'shem sukkah. How can it be l'shem sukkah? Right. Exactly. Well, ultimately to build a sukkah. But I'm saying just because the guy says l'shem sukkah, you can't tell me that these beams, which are used, or these roof beams, can function as schach. So the shem sukkah can never emerge. It's impossible for it to come out. Problem is that he's building his sukkah with the identity of keva in it. That's the problem. You can't build a sukkah with keva in it. That's impossible. It's not a sukkah anymore. How could the shem sukkah emerge? You understand? So in other words, it'd be like me saying, like, again, the reason why they both would agree that if you build the sukkah with the tikra, it's always going to be a problem, is because you're now building it with the identity of keva. No, but Yaakov, it's not a problem in the chefsa. That's not the problem. It's that I'm introducing the identity of keva into my sukkah. Can't do that. Okay. I know, it's the conception. Now comes the case where I come across a sukkah. I have a hut in my backyard, and on top of it is what? Right, but roof beams. Okay, on top of them are roof beams. They're already present. So now look what Rashi says. Rashi's very careful. Rashi says, let's read this part now. Rashi says, he says like this. He says, so avahashta dezu tikra haisa. But in this situation where the tikra was already there, uba lide maisa lasos Hashem sukkah v'zem mochiach. Now here's the thing. This you can do. V'zem mochiach sheyodea she'amra Torah Taaseh Velo HeAsui. Now let's be sensitive. What's he saying there? What's Rashi telling you? He's making this first move. Again, let me read it again. Listen to what he says.
Here you demonstrate that you want to get rid of the keva.
Oh, okay. So why does such a question exist that you could do that?
What's this guy saying?
Okay, again, I'm going to read it one more time. You're getting it. Don't worry, I know you're getting it. He says, Avahashta dezu tikra haisa. The tikra was already there. Okay? And I'm coming across to do an action to make it l'shem sukkah. And in doing so, whatever action I do, that will demonstrate that I know the Torah says, Taaseh Velo HeAsui. Okay? So Rashi's throwing a lot of things at you. What are the two things that Rashi throwing at you? He's telling you right now. What's he saying? Two things he's telling you. What, okay, meaning what? So let's be clear. Rashi's telling you it's not mochiach. There's no mochiach in the action that now I know it's not tikra. He's saying that it's an issue of Taaseh Velo min HeAsui. If whatever action I do, which we didn't get to yet, but whatever action I'm about to do to the tikra, yeah, but let's just we know it's mifafkik, but he doesn't say, he's not playing that card yet. Whatever action I do, I can do an action, and through my action, can I demonstrate that it's not an issue of Taaseh min HeAsui? Who said we're talking about Taaseh min HeAsui? Aren't we talking about Xeris tikra? Why? What is Rashi telling you? Now, Ezra's making a very astute point. Ezra's saying he's right. Ezra's saying that by him, if I build the sukkah with the conceptual identity of Kevin, it's impossible for me to, without doing what? Let's say no-tell, right? Destroying the roof, right? But here where it already exists, all right. So this is the move. This is the first step. Since it's already there, meaning that the keva exists in the structure. I didn't make it with it. One second. Don't say that yet. Say it. So now he's saying the first step. He's got to be very careful. What's the first step? He's saying that there is a solution that could exist other than what? Other than no-tell. In other words, he's saying that a solution can exist where I don't have to destroy the shame roof. Right? That's what he's saying. He's saying there's a method to go ahead and say, again, think about what he's saying. I can do an action that's not no-tell. Right? Because what does no-tell do? No-tell means I no longer have the roof. Right? I destroy the keva. So he's saying there's another way. There's another road. So now that we've established that the case of where the pre-existing roof beams, right? There is some other solution that could exist. Okay. Well, what would that be? So now comes what your question was a second ago. He said. So Rashi says, Pligi Rabbi Yehuda Rameir, Ika Sulam Megzar Mishum Tikra Olo. So he says the machlokas is, would the Xeris Tikra apply? Does the Xeris Tikra apply by a pre-existing roof beam? Okay. So he says this. He says Rabbi Yehuda Savar. Rabbi Yehuda holds Bitulei Tikra. So Rabbi Yehuda held like this in Bitulei Tikra, right? The Beis Shammai Tzarech Litol B'nei Tayim. Okay, so Beis Shammai holds what? And therefore, what I have to do? No tell. Okay. Destroy. Yeah, the Vatal Tikra. So Beis Shammai. Correct. So Beis Shammai holds the only way to get rid of it, even if it's pre-existing, is to do no Da'achas B'nei Tayim. I got to take one out. Right. It's that it's not. That would make it B'tulei Tikra. Okay. That's the only way to do it. What does B'tulei Tikra here mean? No, you're making a mistake. Just let me read. Let me just finish reading Rashi. Just listen. Don't ask the question yet. So he says this. He says, but Beis Hillel. Okay, so he says, so according to Beis Shammai, the Afal Gav the Mochiach Shabaki V'Taaseh min HeAsui Gazriba. So even though in my action I'm showing that I recognize that there's a problem with Taaseh min HeAsui here, and I'm trying to rectify that, regardless, right? The Gezerah still applies. Beis Hillel Sabre, Kevan de Butla, okay, V'Hochiach Shetikra Psula. Since I was Mevatlet, how was I Mevatlet? Now you can say the word. What did I do to Mevatlet? What did I do to Mevatlet? What Ma'aseh did I do? Befafke. By doing this, I'm being Mochiach, right, that the Tikra is puzzle, okay, Su Leka Lemigzar. Okay, there's no need for a Gzera. Whereas the mayor, Savar, Lo Nechlaku. The Afba Gazrina. So what is Beis Hillel's position? Beis Hillel is saying something that's wild, but it's brilliant. Okay, what's he saying? So Ezra wants to posit that if I go ahead and do mifak fake, right? So say it again. You think that doing that action, I'm breaking the. Okay. Now what's the problem with that? So the issue is going to. If you look at what Rashi's telling you, Rashi's introducing that. Rashi's offering something amazing, but he's based on what? He's saying the issue is Taaseh Velo min HeAsui. Okay. The issue is Taaseh min HeAsui. How? The next step to take is to say like this: that according to Beis Hillel, let me just get rid of Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai is easy, but whatever Beis Shammai is going to hold, Beis Shammai is going to hold that there's a separate Xeris Tikra. Okay, nothing to do with Taaseh min HeAsui. Separate Xeris Tikra.
Why must Beis Hillel hold?
Oh, you'll see in a second. But Beis Hillel is gonna. But you'll see. Let's work this out. I'm trying to be as step by step as possible. So I don't want Beis Shammai to be in the picture now. I just want to focus on Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel is saying that Taaseh and HeAsui and Tikra are related, meaning that somehow HeAsui and Keva somehow have a relationship. Okay, what's the relation of that relationship?
What do you think this move is?
Let me just throw out one more piece of information. Okay, think about it. What Beis Hillel is obviously saying, not this far yet. You can now I give all the pieces. You can put it together. He's saying that because I'm just reading Rashi, but Rashi's idea is a very good idea. He's saying since it's mochiach that I'm aware that this is not Taaseh and HeAsui, that I'm breaking the Asui or I'm being Taaseh, so Xeris Tikra will never emerge. It will be superfluous. So if he's saying that, according to Beis Hillel, it would be superfluous to have Xeris. Why? Why?
If you did what?
If I did Mefafkek, which does what?
Does that take care of Taaseh or Velo and HeAsui?
Just make it simple. It's a Taaseh that gets rid of Amen Olam Asui. And he's saying, just listen. The meta issue here is Taaseh and Asui. And what is the whole objective of Taaseh and Asui? He's saying the objective of Taaseh and Asui is that there should never be a reality of Keva in your sukkah. Because why would it be Keva if it's Asui? What is Taaseh doing? What does Taaseh require? What do you have to do by a sukkah? You have to make a sukkah. Okay. Now we got to be careful. It doesn't mean you're chayav to build a sukkah.
Every year
but,
you make it.
Right. Exactly. You have to say that this structure is now a diras arai. Okay. So if I have schach on my sukkah all year long, okay, what's it lacking? I haven't done an action to render it diras arai. Right? I haven't done an action. I have to always render it a diras arai.
You might also get
This. When I go ahead, okay, when I have old schach on there, so what do I have to do? When I have old schach on there, what do I have to do? Taaseh. I have to do taaseh. I have to do something. I have to remove. I'm making this simple for now. I have to remove any reality of asui. So now I'm going to make the last move. Okay. It's not that there's. You're right. It's not that there's kvias in the schach, right? How could it's not? Did I live in it?
These of the Scott fine, but what's how?
Did I live in it?
No, but
So what does Taaseh require? So what's the mechayiv of Taaseh?
defines the sukkah.
Schach defines the sukkah, correct. So what's the mechayiv of Taaseh? V'lo min asui. When I have to get rid of asui, what do I have to do?
We'll do it without any Keva.
Why? Okay, right. I have to do an action to render this diras arai, meaning I have to ensure there's no reality of keva. But one second. No, so one second. Just listen. So the difference between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai is like this. According to Beis Hillel, right, it's not that I have to go ahead and remove any keva, right? I'm not removing keva by doing that. Beis Hillel, I'm not removing keva by being mefafkek. What am I doing? I'm making it a rai. I'm ensuring this is a diras arai. Whereas according to Beis Shammai, it's not sufficient.
No.
What is Beis Shammai? I would say, what's the Xeris Tikra? Xeris Tikra still applies. Why? Because I have to remove any reality of Keva. Beis Hillel is saying it's sufficient for me just to do the action to demonstrate that this is my Diras Arai. Just like I would do any time during the year if I had regular Schach. That same action works. Because what am I doing now? I'm saying this is my Diras Arai. My Diras Arai. So it would break any reality of Tikra as far as he's concerned. It's good that you bring it up. Look at Rashi's Lashon. What does the guy say? He says, "Va'achshav hu ba'al l'sachek bahu l'shem sukkah." So what does he say? He says, "I'm going to now take this kvias structure, okay, the schach and the sukkah, this kvias structure, and now I'm going to render it l'shem sukkah. I'm going to render it l'shem arai." Like, you can't do that because what's the starting point? You know what I mean? There's no starting point there. You understand? The structure itself is one of keva.